What's going on, guys? It's Steve from Wafflypie, and we're back from our Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode, we put up 2 synchronous satellites, and so today we have this out. And you might be saying, "Wow, Dean, this looks like a piece of trash. Throw it in the garbage." It's a monstrosity of beams, and it's just a uh, giant piece of garbage. And you'd be correct. I call this the big old box, and that's big old box. And let's actually rename this or change it into a rover because that is what it is. You can tell by the 8 wheels that it has on it. And so what I've made this for is to pick up the habitation of the moon base, because if you were watching, nope, not what I wanted to do. We have got this thing here landed on the moon, tail up. And actually, now that I take a good hard look at this, might not even be that bad. Just to land something over here and fly it up. But this is how we landed the moon living, the habitation module, except it is in a crater, which is obviously not what we want this to do. We need this up by the rest of the base so that it can actually be part of it. And it's not doing much good over here. So, if I can, I'm going to attempt to get the big old box into an orbit, because although it's very light for its size, it only weighs 28 tons. The horrendous aerodynamics of the top of the craft make it incredibly difficult to fly, and in fact it becomes very unstable if you go too fast. That being said, I've put 5 medium-sized or 1.25 meter SAS modules on there, as well as one 2.5 meter one, as well as some wings, and that, oh, and also some boosters. So if we launch this, you can see that there's not too much acceleration. If we set it to max thrust, then it can get upwards of 2 Gs, I think up to 3 as well, but that's not super good, because it will end up tipping over. And unfortunately, just because of the way that this is shaped and set up, it is off-centered. That's why there's more of it over here than there is over here. But I set it up so that the center of mass lines up with the rest of the ship. So what I've figured out with this is that it does not like to go over 150 below 3,000 meters. So generally a good rule is to keep it below that until the solid fuel thrusters run out, which should be happening anytime soon. But after that I can speed it up to about 200 until I drop the sides here. And then it should be good up into and out of the atmosphere. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but there's minimal tipping going on. I can't touch it whatsoever. In fact, I should have probably throttled it down a little. I can't touch the reaction wheels whatsoever, because at that point any amount of offset that this plane gives is going to be a source of lift, and it's going to fly straight up. Now I can kick that all the way up and get into a proper orbit. So, because of this thing's aerodynamics, normally it wouldn't be too bad to get into space, but this whole thing is acting as a resisting surface. And so it's not going to work very well unless it's out of the atmosphere. Which is why not only is it horribly inefficient to get this up into the atmosphere, but it's also going to be there's just not enough fuel. This thing does not have enough fuel to get into a good orbit. Maybe not even a full orbit. I'd be pushing the limits of this thing to get above 60,000. But hopefully we can get one that's above 70 on either side. So, the shape of this whole thing... Actually, in fact, I'm gonna wait a bit for that. The shape of this whole thing is an absurd attempt of using these big plates to fit that moon living capsule. And let me check the plane on this. No, that's not so good. And I can't correct that either, because it's going to use up too much fuel. But this thing is built so that it can pick that up with this, and then it'll latch onto the other side with the arm here. Hopefully that works. Oh, we're almost at 70,000. And cut the engines. That looks like a good maneuver. Although a 1 minute burn with this thing, that might have enough. And there's always this, oh, that's wrong side. There's always this final backup stage in here. And just to make sure that this thing doesn't run out of power, I have it filled with radioactive generators on the top, and also some of these real big solar arrays. Those are some cool stars there for a second. But if I didn't have those, oh, and also these batteries, just in case. But if I didn't have those, and these would draw almost the entire ship's worth of power in a second or two, because they take quite a bit of fuel, or energy. That is. I should start burning. So if this doesn't work, then I'm going to have to send up one that can land on top of it, because as far as it's looking right now, I think I might be able to pick it up and lift it up like a sky crane. But I'm not 100% confident that I can do that. As for this one, it's just meant so that I can drop the habitation down, latch onto it, and drive away. I'm really hoping that it'll be able to scale that cliff, but I mean, it's always kind of up in the air with this game. There goes that stage. Okay, so let's throttle down a little tiny bit and drop that. Separated nicely. And let's finish this burn. So hopefully these These 8 little engines will have enough to get us down by 200 meters per second. And they're awfully loud too. We're going pretty slowly, but we're just entering the atmosphere, so that's not a problem. In fact, I'm just going to set this to prograde and let it go like that. Because like I said, all this needs to do is get into a stable orbit, and then I can come and pick it up with the docking port on this side here. If I let this go any further like it's going, then we might come up with the problem, because right now our apoapse is pretty high, and much higher than it should be. We want to get that the other way around. So after we do this, I'm just going to have to burn straight up, I think. Because it's going to be the only way to raise the periaps. Because 65,000 is not a stable orbit. Either that or I'll just have to wait till apoapse. So right now we are going up, so it's not all bad. Let's time warp a little bit here. We can probably get these panels out. Although, oh no, actually, that's a bad idea. We're in the atmosphere. Bring them back. Bring them right back. Bring them back. Come on. Come on. There you go. Let's go ahead and time warp ahead. Just until we're safely out of the atmosphere. Unfortunately, the fastest we can get with this is 4 times, because, like I said, we're in the atmosphere, but that's not too much of a problem. We're going into the dark side, the nighttime. Like how it wobbles around. Where is it? 70,000. We're almost there. Okay, give me a maneuver that'll bring my periaps here. Close enough. It's just going to be right on the radial anyway, so. Nice airplane noise. Okay. Now we're good. And in fact, 26 units of fuel. I'm gonna bite the bullet, although there's not a whole lot of risk involved in this, and attempt to perform a plane correction. And that will be in 8 minutes game time, requiring a 1-minute burn. So no, it will not end up being complete. But it's going to keep us out of the atmosphere, and it's going to settle us a little bit in a bit easier position to land on. Or not land on, but rendezvous with. Well, we barely scratched that. Now we're out of fuel. But since this is now just an empty tank, I have outfitted it with a couple Separatrons. So, and this stage is worthless now. It's just blocking the payload, or where the payload is supposed to be. So, let's say goodbye to that. Hopefully, that spirals down into a collision course with the surface, which it looks like it will not. Oh well. Well, this thing is not going to be the easiest to dock with. And in fact, another thing we're going to have to ditch is the entire SAS. Because that is the docking port. So let's go ahead and throw it behind us. Couple that. And it's going to sail away ever so slowly. We'll be able to give it a little... No, we cannot give it a little push, because now the ship's reaction torque is coming entirely from the Probodyne Octo 2. As next to none. So in fact, I think this thing literally has 0 thrust, or 0 velocity relative to there. It also, oh, whoa. Okay. I guess it was clipping a little bit there, and when I undid time warp, it decided to sail off. Whereas this one will crash. This one looks to be following our path exactly. We can expect it to sail away a little bit, but not get too far. Anyway, let's go back to the Space Center. And now we have to make something that'll get this thing to the moon. So this is what I whipped up. It is not a whole lot. It's pretty much enough to maybe move it a couple hundred, maybe probably a couple kilometers per second delta V. But because it's not a lot, which is the reason behind that is it's going to be hard to put into space if it's any more. But because it's not a lot, I'm going to have to send several up. And so I think that for this first one, I'm just going to do a plane correction. And then it'll be a lot easier for the rest of it. 3.3 kilometers. That is the debris, and that is it. And we should be burning right now. Okay, I'm not sure how much RCS we're going to have on this because I used a lot of it during the course correction. And we're done. Go ahead and shut that engine down. And then move these ones down there. And then now we have to wait. It's roughly equatorial. I guess the space plane. Well, at least we have some RCS monopropellant to flip us around the right ways. And finally get rid of this debris. Hey, what do you know? It's sunrise just as we get to it. It's 30 seconds. Oh, that's not what I expected to happen. It's a little shaky. Oh, nothing. Okay, well. I think that I might have to call it there then, because if there's literally nothing I can do because of this fuel, not because of these rockets just not feeling like working, it might have something to do with the bobbing around of the control or of the docking ports. It might have something to do with just the way the physics are. But there is an update coming out soon, so I hope that that will fix it. And so until then, I guess we'll just be floating around like this. And I will see you guys then.